Hello and welcome to the English Like a Native podcast. We are back. My name is Anna and you are listening to week 1, day 1 of our second series of your English 5 a day. I'm so excited to be back and starting with a fresh season of this vocabulary expansion series. So let's settle down, get excited, and get ready for this brand new season, brand new week, brand new episode. Now, I'm going to start each of these episodes with a snapshot of what you can look forward to. So a sentence or two that contain all the vocabulary that we're going to cover today. So today's snapshot is as follows. Although he appeared aloof, it became clear that he had her interests at heart when he took the time to address her concerns. Their conversation not only helped to clear the air, but also prompted her to be more indulgent in allowing herself small pleasures and to cut him some slack for his earlier behaviour. Did you understand everything in that snapshot? Well, if not, don't worry, because that's what today's episode is all about. And while I'm here, before we begin, I want to remind you that everything we cover in this season can be accessed for free in our database, the 5-a-day master sheet, the spreadsheet that contains all of the vocabulary plus a definition and an example sentence, all prepared and updated for you. All you have to do is click on the link in the show notes and you can access that database, and we'll do all the hard work for you, filling it in every week so that you have everything that's covered from now until the end of the season. All right, so let's kick things off with an idiom. To have someone's interests at heart. To have someone's interests at heart. Interests we spell I-N-T-E-R-E-S-T-S. Interests. At, A-T, heart, H-E-A-R-T. Now, we often actually add the word best interests at heart. To have someone's interests at heart, or to have their best interests at heart, is to want someone to be happy and successful, even though your actions may not show this. So you might do something that ends up being detrimental or upsetting to someone, and you didn't intend that. That wasn't your intention. You wanted to do the best for them. For example, for my children, I often make decisions for them that I know are for the best. It might be that I tell them they can't stay up late to finish watching a film. Maybe they're halfway through a film, but it's already past their bedtime. And I say, I'm very sorry. I know it seems mean. I know that you're going to be sad, but you need your rest. And I have your best interests at heart. It might not seem like I'm being kind and that I love you very much, but actually I want you to be happy and healthy and perform well at school tomorrow and not feel grumpy and tired. So I have your interests at heart. Go to bed. Here's another example. Even though he's strict, Mr. Matthews really has his students' interests at heart. Next on the list is the adjective indulgent. Indulgent. We spell this I-N-D-U-L-G-E-N-T. Indulgent. Indulgent describes being inclined to allow yourself or others to enjoy pleasures, sometimes to excess. So if something or someone is described as indulgent, then it's a little bit too much or more than what you'd normally allow just for the reason of pleasure. For example, I normally eat very healthy. I often cook from scratch. So I have whole foods and I do a lot of food preparation. I don't like ultra processed foods if I can help it. I try to avoid desserts and sugar in my diet as much as I can. But occasionally I will be a little indulgent, especially around this time of year when it's cold and dark. I might allow myself to have a glass of wine, which is very rare. Or I might buy a box of chocolates or a tiramisu to enjoy one evening after dinner. So I'm a little indulgent sometimes. And I would describe these guilty pleasures as indulgent. An indulgent pudding would be a pudding that has more sugar than a pudding I normally have. Normally for dessert, I would enjoy fruit and yogurt. But an indulgent dessert is one that has a lot of refined sugar in there. Here's another example. Ty had an indulgent attitude towards his children, often giving them treats. Are you an indulgent person? What do you indulge in when you're feeling indulgent? Or what would you consider indulgent? What's a guilty pleasure for you? Next on the list, we have the idiom, cut someone some slack. To cut someone some slack. Cut, C-U-T, someone, some, S-O-M-E, and slack, S-L-A-C-K. Cut someone some slack. If you cut a person some slack, then it means that you're being less critical of that person or you're being less strict with them. For example, if you are normally very strict about the time when someone arrives at work, perhaps you're the boss or the line manager, and you tell everyone they must be at their desk at 8:30. And if they're late, then you're going to be having a word with them. You're going to be very cross and giving them a hard time. But perhaps it's Christmas and you know there was a big party for all the employees last night, and you know that everyone's going to be quite tired because they were quite indulgent last night. They had quite a bit to drink. They stayed up late. They were partying and having a good time. So maybe in the morning you decide to cut them some slack. You're not going to be so strict if they turn up to work half an hour late or if they're not at their desk exactly on time. You're going to cut them some slack because we're all in the same boat and you know that everyone had a nice time last night. You don't want to ruin the mood by coming down hard on them in the morning. Here's another example sentence. He knows if he needs some time off, his boss will cut him some slack, trusting he'll make it up. Has your boss ever cut you some slack? Do you have the kind of manager who will understand if you're having personal problems, if you're going through a tough time in your personal life and you need special treatment perhaps? Maybe you need a few extra days off or you need extensions on your deadlines. Would your manager cut you some slack? Next on the list, we have the adjective aloof. Aloof. We spell this A-L-O-O-F. Aloof. If someone is described as aloof, then they are not friendly or they're not interested in other people. They don't show a friendly, warm manner. They just seem completely disinterested. If you're going on a date with somebody, you don't want them to behave in an aloof way. You want them to show interest and be friendly towards you and warm and open. So being aloof is not necessarily a good thing, but I'm sure that you've experienced someone who's been aloof. My best friends from university say that I was a little aloof in the first year of our university degree. We studied together for 3 years and they say that they really liked me and they wanted to bring me into their friendship group, but they found me quite hard initially. They found it hard to warm me up and break through my hard outer shell. I don't remember being that way, but that's how they saw me. They thought I was a little aloof. So when they finally told me that, I was surprised. Here's another example of aloof. Despite her talent, Carol often appeared aloof and uninterested in interacting with her teammates. That's certainly not what you want. If you're working in a team with someone and you all have to work together, you don't want someone behaving in an aloof manner. Last on today's list, we have the idiom clear the air, to clear the air. Clear, C-L-E-A-R, the, or the in this case, T-H-E, air, A-I-R. So because the following word after the begins with a vowel sound, air, then the becomes the when we speak it. So clear the air, clear the air, clear the air. To clear the air means to improve a difficult or tense situation by talking about your worries or doubts, or maybe apologizing perhaps, or explaining yourself if maybe something you've said or done has been misinterpreted or taken in the wrong way. And so now someone's being grumpy and aloof with you. So you decide to clear the air. You approach them and say, can we talk? I'd like to clear the air. You heard me say this and you made an assumption, but I didn't mean that at all. And afterwards, hopefully, after you've cleared the air, hopefully everything will be good again. Here's another example. Clearing the air helps a relationship grow. And it's true, if you are in an intimate relationship with somebody, a boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband, it really helps to clear the air after a disagreement, because if you allow it to fester, then it becomes a compound problem when you bicker and bicker and bicker and you never clear the air. You just walk away and forget about the argument. It never really disappears. It sits there and grows like a cancer or a tumor and can end up destroying relationships. So it's always good to clear the air after a disagreement. Okay, that's our 5 for today. So let's do a quick recap. We started with the idiom to have someone's interests at heart, which means that you want them to be happy and successful, even though your actions may not show this. To have someone's interests at heart. Next, we had the adjective indulgent, meaning that you're inclined to allow yourself or others to enjoy pleasures, sometimes to excess. Indulgent. Next, we had the idiom cut someone some slack, which means to be less critical of them or less strict with them. Cut them some slack. We had the adjective aloof, meaning not very friendly or interested in other people. Aloof. And we finished with the idiom clear the air, which means to improve a difficult or tense situation by talking about it. To clear the air. Now, let's go through them for pronunciation purposes. If you can, please listen and repeat out loud after me. Have someone's interests at heart. Have someone's interests at heart. Indulgent. Indulgent. Cut someone some slack. Cut someone some slack. Aloof. Aloof. Clear the air. Clear the air. Very good. Now, if I'm enjoying a pleasure, and it's a guilty pleasure, and I'm having a little too much, how could I describe this pleasure? Maybe, let's say it's a dessert. What adjective would I use to describe this naughty dessert? An indulgent. Dessert, yes, and I'm being quite indulgent by having so much of this naughty tiramisu. Indulgent. But if I'm going to be less strict with myself because I'm on holiday, then what am I doing? What idiom could I use to describe being less strict with myself? I'm cutting myself some slack. Yes, to cut myself some slack. If while I'm on holiday, I meet another group of people on holiday, but one person in the group is not very friendly and doesn't seem very interested in talking to me, doesn't make an effort, how could I describe that person? Aloof. Yes, they might be a little aloof. And if they are aloof, then that might upset me. So I might decide to actually have a word with them, have a chat and tell them that I'm concerned they don't like me and have I done something wrong? What am I doing here? By having this talk, I'm going to try and improve the situation. So what is this? What's happening? What idiom would I use? Clear the air. Yes, I'm trying to clear the air by having a chat with this person. And then if I want someone to be happy, even though my actions don't really show that, what idiom would I use here? I have their interests at heart. Very good. All right, let me repeat the snapshot that I gave you at the beginning, where you'll hear all the target words in 1 or 2 sentences, and then we'll move on to story time. So listen to the snapshot and see if you can spot the target vocabulary. Although he appeared aloof, it became clear that he had her interests at heart when he took the time to address her concerns. Their conversation not only helped to clear the air, but also prompted her to be more indulgent in allowing herself small pleasures and to cut him some slack for his earlier behaviour. Very good. Okay, we are going on to my favourite part of the episode. That's right, sit back and enjoy today's story time. My dad was always a bit of a mystery to me. He was super strict, always watching me with these serious eyes that made me feel like I was constantly being judged. Deep down, I know he had my interests at heart, but back then it just felt like too much. My father was dead set on not being too indulgent. He thought being soft would make me weak. Every time I did something good, he'd just give a quick nod. Every mistake meant a long talk. He wanted me to do well so badly that he forgot kids need a bit of love and understanding. He was pretty aloof, which made me feel like I was some kind of project rather than his daughter. During my teenage years, when I was struggling with friendships, self-confidence, and the turbulent emotions of adolescence, I just wanted him to cut me some slack. Just once, I wish he had listened without lecturing me or trying to fix everything. Now, years later, I can see how we grew apart bit by bit. I wish we could clear the air and really talk, but it feels like those moments have already passed. My dad's getting older now and he's much quieter. The intensity of his strictness has faded, but so has our connection. I can't help wondering if he ever realized how much I just wanted him to understand me. I wanted him to see me as his daughter, not as some project that needed perfecting. It's funny how relationships can get so complicated. Sometimes I think some connections are like frail pieces of string, easy to break, tough to put back together. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. Please remember you can access all of the vocabulary from this season by clicking on the link in the show notes. If you did enjoy today's episode, then remember, I'll be releasing an episode every day from Monday to Friday at the same time. So tune in tomorrow for the next episode of Your English 5 a Day. Until then, take very good care and goodbye.